I'm glad to see regular clouds instead of chemtrails. They're messing with people from every which way but loose. They're attacking your mind, your soul, your body, your will, your emotions, your intellect. Now, you don't have to live in fear. You just have to be wise, They're trying with the music and the media and the doom scrolling to keep you ignorant and low vibration and dumb. And they're trying to cause people to fight each other when actually the other person's not your enemy. And if you just listen to another perspective and try to see where they're coming from, usually you're saying the same thing. And usually you're not enemies. You're on the same side. You want the same thing. And so we can't always say they are doing it because we do it to ourselves, And the battle is usually within. If you can control the inside, you can control pretty much everything. And before we make rash decisions or jump to conclusions, we have to have a conversation. What's really going on here? What's really going on? What is really going on here? We all have the same daily cycle, right? And so we can all choose to grow or choose to stay stagnant or to choose to go backwards. If you're going backwards, what's that about? Now, there is such a thing as MK Ultra mind control, and there is such a thing as spiritual warfare, and it's all just a test to see if you can overcome. If God puts you through something, He knows, especially if you're His, if He's called you out of Babylon, and you got saved, you got born again, God puts you through something is to push you higher. It might feel like you're going down or going lower, but it's really designed to push you higher. Push you to the next level. One of the reasons I took so much time off of rideshare is because I just get tired of seeing the same stuff. I mean, look at the dirt, look at the buildings, look at the cracks in the ground, it's just, when you really see through this Clado land reality, it's hard not to see it anymore. I mean, it's just, that's grease and dirt, and I don't want to be negative, but when I look at the natural realm, it's nothing but negative. And so that's why He says, set your affections above. The longer you set your affections above, the more you realize this place is really just a joke. You're going through the cycles. You're just repeating everything over and over and over. Now, if nothing out here changes, it's the same stuff over and over and over, then what's really going on? You can go to any city, and you're going to see telephone poles, you're going to see, well, there's a deer on the side of the road, a dead deer. Somebody ran into a deer. You just keep going through the same stuff over and over. It doesn't matter where you go. What's a different country, different city, different state, or whatever. It don't matter where you go. And so you just go through the same cycle. So what is the purpose of that? if you've ever had a midlife crisis, this should wake you. This should be, why am I here? What is really going on? It should wake you up. What's the purpose of the cycle? The repeat cycle. What is the purpose? Well, anytime you have a cycle, it represents a birthing. Like when that wheel cycles, it's birthing to its destination or destiny. So anytime you have a cycle, it's a birthing process. So everything goes around you. The sun goes up, goes down, the stars, the night, the cars. This, you've been through this 1,000 times. So anytime you have a cycle, it's a birthing process. Now, what is birthing? This is just the same. This is the same old stuff, just repeating. So what's birthing in this experience? It's almost like an experience, an experiment, a hologram, a video game, virtual reality, like Dark City, the movie. This is just experience. Anytime you face off with somebody, it's an interface, right? They have their view of the experience. You have your view of the experience, you know? Everybody has a different experience, right? And so when you're facing off with somebody, you can learn from their experience, but everybody has their own little hologram. So let's say there's a husband and wife. She's going about her day. He's going about his day. They come back together and they talk about what they went through or what they learned or what God is teaching them or what they're going through. And you're sitting there listening to the other person and you're saying, how did it feel? How was the experience? How did you overcome it? How did you beat that battle? How did you win? How did you get the job done? Or, you know, so you're asking a bunch of questions to try to feel what they felt. And after enough questions, you say, oh, I remember an experience where I felt that and I overcame that and I went through that. And so you're actually trying to feel that person's pain or joy or success or whatever. By asking the questions and listening, you can actually feel what that person went through because you've been through it a place before. And that's part of the birthing process, because when you really do the meditation, and I'm not talking about sitting in the corner saying Om, but just cut off the noise. And so you really start to think about everything. It's almost like you go into a state where you can see that other person is experiencing what you are, but just in a different movie theater. Imagine each person sitting in a movie theater, and so that person in that car is in a movie theater, I'm in a movie theater, and we're actually experiencing the same thing, but from different perspectives. And then when we take all the clips, we say, oh, it was really the same movie. At the end of your life, it was the same movie, because you end up in the same place. You started out from the womb, the box, and you end up in the grave in a box. You start out from a box and you end up in a box. And so you move through that process from a box to a box. And in between, the intermediate, you got a bunch of little boxes. There's a box. There's a box. This car's a box. Amazon boxes. It's all a box. And so from the beginning to the end is a box after a box after a box after a box. And so you treat it like a movie. And if you step back and look at your experience without the emotions, it helps you to regulate life better. It helps you to manage life in a better way. For this came to my mind. This came out of nowhere. For this cause shall man leave mother and father, cleave to his wife, the two shall become one flesh. So what happens is those two create a new box, a new system, and they go through that system together. And so together, God puts them together to help each other grow spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever. Help them recover from whatever sickness they get in. They're supposed to be in the same box, on the same page, but they still, even though they're in the same little box house, box mobile home, box camper, box mansion, box whatever they're in, whatever box or apartment, box, whatever they're in. And so they're still in the same box, but they have different perspectives while they're in that box. So just like if somebody was sitting in this car beside me in the passenger seat, I'm looking at my perspective at this angle. They're looking at this angle. Even though we see the same car, we're looking at it at different perspectives. So we see different aspects of the same thing. And so that's the way life is, whether it's a coworker, a spouse, a kid, a parent, or somebody who's in another country or whatever. It's a system designed to teach you that your neighbor's just like you, and it teaches you to love your neighbors yourself. And so you wouldn't want to do anything harm. The reason the man and woman don't want to cheat on their spouse because you would hurt that person, and that's not loving your neighbor. So even the person that you cheated on with, you're hurting them, and you're hurting your spouse. So you would never want to cheat because you're hurting yourself too. You're destroying a box, and you don't want to hurt people. And so you don't want to steal from anybody because you're hurting the other person. You don't want to lie to somebody because you're hurting the other person. Because do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. You don't want anybody to lie to you, so you don't lie to people. And so the purpose of the cycle repeat that's out here is to teach you that, hey, that person's just like me. That's a different version of me, and you want to love your neighbors yourself, right? And so you don't want to hurt anybody. And so it's teaching you how to love your neighbor, how to love, period, how to be responsible for your ship and all that stuff. It's teaching you how to be responsible for everything, or in everything. And it's not about you. That's what it's teaching you too. And you learn this on the job. If you stay on the job long enough, you know it's the team. And each member of the team has their duties and responsibility. And over time, you learn it's not about you. It's the team. And if you think it's about you, you're delusional. Because it's not about you. Today we had a meeting. And they were talking about how treat the customers with care and treat each other with care. Love your neighbors yourself is what they were saying. The golden rule, do unto others. And it's sad that a corporation or a business or anybody has to teach that. It should be common knowledge, but everybody's so selfish, and the media and the TV, and everybody's hating everybody. And all these people are being brainwashed, MK Ultras, to hate themselves, hate their neighbor. And it's like, come on. I just remembered I got to go run an errand. Long story short, what is my point? The human experience on earth is a birthing process to move you to the next state, to move you from low vibration to a higher vibration, a higher and a higher and a higher. And if you're on a low vibration, you don't understand these people on a high vibration. If you're a little bit higher, you understand whatever frequency you're on, you understand, and you understand that level and below. And you never want to go back because you know that's not healthy. It's not beneficial. So as you rise up in your awareness, of what this place really is, it catapults you to the next level. And so you leave the flesh mind and you move into the spirit mind. And once you get to a certain level, the witches will say, do no harm. But I don't, that's good and all. But you still need an authority. Because anybody can say, well, I'll do no harm. And you're still doing harm, but don't it see your harm. But you need an authority, which is the scripture. And so the scripture shows you what harm is and what harm isn't. If you just say, do no harm, and I'm my own authority, you'll not understand the different levels. Because anybody can say, do no harm. What does that mean? Amazon did that, but they started acting stupid. Google said that, but they started acting evil. So you always have to have an authority to keep you in the balance, because if you become your own measuring stick, you'll lose it. You got to have the scripture as your measuring stick, because if otherwise you'll go crazy. I'll give you an example. So let's say I wanted to build this bridge, and I was just cutting these pillars based on the previous pillar. They would start getting smaller. You have to have a pattern to follow. If you build a deck and you use the same pattern, you're going to have a perfect deck. But if you just cut it based on the next one, it wouldn't work. So your pattern is the scripture. If you become your own pattern and your own litmus test, you will go off the deep end. That's why you need the Bible. You need people to hold you accountable. If you're living by yourself, you need accountability of something. A job, the Bible, good teaching. Because when you have other two people in the same house, they're going to hold each other accountable. It ain't going to be fun at times. But you've got to admit, you've got to realize you need that face-to-face accountability to save your life. If somebody's saying, quit eating so many carbs, you're going to get sugar diabetes. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to help you. And so, I promise you, if you listen to Dr. Berg on YouTube, you're going to hear the truth. And the truth will set you free. Long story short, the cycles are to birth you spiritually and mentally and psychologically to the next level, the next state of being. And what you used to think last year, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you don't think like that anymore. And so you've matured and you've become a better creature. But if everybody around you is not pushing themselves higher, you're going to stay in the low vibration with them. So you got to push yourself and surround yourself with people who want to push higher. And if you do that, if you learn to do that, your life will be a lot better. That's all.